for the longest time, and including my generation, it was all college.
Yeah.
What college? It wasn't even like, what career do you want to go into, or what do you want to try? It was, what college were you going to? Gotta go.
So I'm thinking about looking at the college prices and stuff, and I'm like, whoa, that is overboard. That is crazy. CDL would be good. Get right into work, start making money.
If there's an underlying theme for success, it's you got to be able to work hard.
Got to put the work into it.
If you're thinking about a career in the trades and you want to know what employers actually look for, what the work is really like, and what nobody tells you before you get started, you're in the right place. Built in the Midwest features conversations that'll help you figure out if this path is for you.
Blake, welcome to the Built in the Midwest podcast. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. So this is a big day for you.
Oh, for sure.
This is a big day. So tell everyone what just happened within the last literally hour.
Yeah. So I went and took my last test, passed her, got her done.
That's
so
huge. And now you're officially a Class A CDL holder.
Absolutely.
You're part of less than 3% of the population that have their CDL. So one thing that really intrigued me about you is literally you had just turned 18 right before the start of the class. You see a lot of young people, and I don't mean this meanly at all, but you see a lot of young people that they lack a lot of motivation and a lot of direction. And so, but I don't see that with you. So tell me, where did that motivation come from to do this, especially right out of high school? Have you thought about this for a long time? What were your thoughts leading up to this point?
Yeah, so when I graduated, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I'm working for a sand and gravel company right now, and my boss, you should get your CDL, get you in a mixer and dump trucks. And I always thought, I always wanted to get my CDL. We actually had a trucker living down the road from us. When that guy first bought that house, brought his truck into town, I had to go look at that thing. I had to go look at it. I think that's really where it all started. And I've always grew up driving tractors and stuff with my grandparents, and it's something that's always intrigued me. And
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So when in high school, so this is like a conversation you've had in high school. So, and you had jobs in high school.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that, because that in itself, I think, is maybe common to you, but I just did a tour here. This was a handful of months back with a group of students, and they were all juniors and seniors. And there's maybe 30, 35 of them. And I asked how many of them had jobs, and 3 of them raised their hands.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. So just the fact that you've had jobs in high school, talk to me about that. What jobs have you had? What have you done?
Absolutely. So I started off, there was a powder coating company down the road from my house. And he offered me a job to come clean toilets and sweep the floor and mop. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take it. So I did that for about a year. And then there's also a restaurant in my town in Dollar Bay, Quincy's. I started there washing dishes, did that for about one and a half years, probably. Yeah, 1.5 years probably. Did that. Do not wash dishes. It's not fun.
No.
I would not recommend it.
I've done it.
Don't recommend it.
Yeah.
Do not recommend it. But yeah, and then actually I started my own little business, mowing grass. Had a couple jobs here, about 12 jobs doing that. And then I got offered a job to work at where I'm at now, Superior Sand and Gravel, and I took it.
Fantastic. So literally in your kind of high school career, where a lot of people really haven't had a job in high school, or they don't get a job till after high school, you've had 4 different jobs, including starting your own business at 18 years old.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's cool really cool. I mean, you really don't see a lot of motivation like that. And I think just, having you on here to talk about your story is really, I think, inspiring to other young people to say, you know what, you don't need to have all these fancy degrees, or you don't need to have all this schooling. Say, hey, you can get started at 15, 16 years old.
Oh, for sure.
Working and doing some really, really good stuff. So when in high school did you decide on the trades?
Yeah, so last year I was talking to my counselor, and we were thinking about, I need to get my CDL. So kind of set this thing up with the state to come and pay for it. So me to come through the CDL course through you guys. And they actually gave me the option, what class, where do you want to go? And I was like, I'm going to Midwest. I'm going to Midwest. I seen all them videos. I was like, you guys are the bomb. I'm coming there. So, that's when I figured it out. I was like, about 11th grade, I was like, I'm going to get my CDL for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I think more young people should have more direction like that. Yeah. So, you had the idea in your mind. You're brainstorming with it sounds like your school counselor as well, which is huge. So that resource for you was kind of invaluable to help you on that path. Now, do you have any family in this trade at all that maybe
No, I don't. I'm actually the first one kind of going and getting their CDL.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're kind of spearheading a brand new path here.
Oh, yeah. Carving away.
Yeah, no, that's
Carving away.
awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome. And it's one thing that, kind of going back to that is like being able to have those conversations with people in your life. And like you, clearly you were close to your school counselor and you had a good relationship, and being able to, all right, talk about those things. And the fact that, was it a him or her? Or
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
And is the fact that he kind of pushed you in this area. I've been seeing a lot more of that, where school counselors are not just, because for the longest time, and including my generation, it was all college.
Yeah.
What college? It wasn't even like, what career do you want to go into, or what do you want to try? It was, what college we got to go. And then now we're in the student debt crisis, and we have all this stuff going on that side of things.
Nothing to do with that.
No, exactly. And so now, but I'm seeing a major shift in focus with high schools and counselors, where now it's career focus, and that could be the military. It could be college, or it could be the trades, but it's more looking at you individually, saying, all right, what do you want to do? What's going to be the best? And obviously the financial part is a big part of it. Yeah. Do you want to take the next 5 years and get a degree and not essentially make anything, or potentially have an ROI after that? Or do I want to get right into a trade? I mean, these are tough questions to answer. How did you kind of wrap your mind around all that, kind of figuring this stuff out? Because in your position, that's tough. It's tough to figure out. Sure.
Yeah. So I was really thinking about it in my 11th grade year. I almost thought about becoming a law enforcement. I was thinking of going being a cop and stuff. And I just don't like all the paperwork. So I was like, I don't know if that's a good fit. So I'm thinking about it, looking at the college prices and stuff, and I'm like, whoa, that is overboard. That is crazy. And I'm thinking about it. Yeah, CDL would be good. Get right into work, start making money, don't have any debt, get it done. Start working, making money, getting ahead of the game.
Absolutely. The other thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is, when they go through college, that 5 years, they're giving up 5 years of potentially some of the most hardest working years that you have. I mean, potentially, because once you have, like myself, a wife with 4 kids, and I love my life, don't get me wrong, but I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. Yeah. And it's like, man, if there was years that were in college, you're not going to get those back, right? No. And I think about like the average age, or where a lot of professional athletes are. Mm-hmm. They're in their 20s, right? Yeah. They're not 30s and 40s. I mean, some of them sure, but it's literally 20s is where your prime is at, and being able to utilize that and get into a great trade, I think is far above what you see, a lot of other people doing, which is awesome. Why do you think a lot of young people kind of don't have a lot of direction? And you probably see this in your own class, where some people are just kind of drifting a little bit.
Yeah. It all spikes on, there's a lot of people that don't like to work anymore, like hands-on. They kind of want to chill out, do their desk work and do this and that. They're scared to get into it. It's for sure a lot to learn. Maybe they're a little scared of the learning curve, but it's for sure a lot. But
absolutely. So just being willing to take that risk, because this is a big risk. I mean, you didn't know. I mean, you maybe seen some videos of me online or whatever, but you didn't know me. You didn't know the school. So that was a big risk. And then coming all the way down there, I mean, you traveled 3 hours, 3 hours to get to this place. That's a big risk. And maybe that's a part of life. They say, fortune favors the bold is a common thing. And being able and be willing to kind of take risks, because, no risk, no reward kind of thing.
And got to take risks. And most of the time it'll come out, you'll succeed if you put enough time into it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. But, do you feel like you even went kind of way out of your comfort zone with this?
There was a few times, like I told you before, the other day, first day in the classroom, we got that thing you got to look up all them laws. Oh my goodness. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope this ain't what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no.
Were you thinking right then and there, maybe this wasn't for me?
Yeah, I was too. We're all looking at each other like, what in the world?
It's like, all these rules and regulations.
Gosh. Yeah.
And so, going back to that, what was the hardest part of the course?
I'll be honest with you, the first week was the hardest for me, because we had to do all them tests. We had to do all them written tests at the DMV. You had your combination, your air brakes, and then you had your general knowledge. Those were a lot to put together.
Yeah.
And I'm not a good test taker, but
No.
I definitely got through it.
Well, and those are, I mean, you went through, I mean, hours and hours
yeah,
and
for
hours
sure.
and hours of PowerPoints,
Oh,
of
yeah.
videos, all the different tests we took in class. And, you know, for people that maybe don't know, just to get your commercial learner's permit, just to hop in that truck,
Oh, yeah.
right? And it takes a lot. A lot of theory, a lot of understanding the law, understanding the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, and I think a lot of people don't realize like how much work it takes just to get your learner's permit.
I know it's a lot.
It's
a lot. It's a whole week.
Well, yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
It's like,
Well, and 40 hours. It's
Oh, yeah.
40 hours, so it's like a month's worth of training
I know.
condensed into 40 hours. And
Exactly.
I know some people are like, oh, like by noon they're like, okay, information overload. I don't
that's
know
what
if
we were
I can
saying,
just take
Oh, yeah.
anymore. But were you surprised with how much you were able to pick up?
Yeah, it was crazy. You guys taught exactly. Everything stuck. You guys taught it exactly how we needed to do it on the test, and
That's awesome.
got her done.
That's
So,
awesome. No, you know, I tell a lot of people because a lot of them get overwhelmed and frustrated,
Yeah.
right? And I tell them, I was like, that's normal,
Yep.
understand, but this full immersion, when you just dive right into this industry, dive right into this program and commit yourself, I was like, you'll get it. It's going to be hard. It's going to be
Yep.
frustrating,
sure.
right? You're going to get home and your head's going to hit the pillow and you're going to be out because you're going to be so mentally exhausted. You know, but it's interesting how for you, it was kind of the bookwork and the theory that
Yeah.
was the struggle. When I've talked to other students, and their hardest part was the shifting and the
Yeah.
backing and the road time. How was that side for you?
It was amazing. We had an amazing instructor, Penny. Shout out to you. You were great. An
Yeah.
amazing instructor. Taught us everything we needed to know. Did a great job teaching us. Everything, worked
Awesome.
out great. So
Awesome.
perfect.
So you felt really not only prepared for the test, but kind of
was
just
ready.
prepared for this industry.
For sure.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
ready to go.
Yeah. So I'm really glad you passed.
thank you.
Congratulations again. You know, I don't know if you'd want to be doing a podcast.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. But once again, you took a big risk on this course. You took a risk coming all the way down here, and obviously you are going way beyond your comfort zone,
Yeah.
right? Like a skills test like this, you know, for people who have never taken a skills test like this, I don't think they understand the anxiety that goes
yeah.
into it. Talk about that and how you kind of prepared for this day.
I got a perfect example for today. I was doing my straight line back, my straight, offsets and all that, and I got to my 90, and I'm like, I can get this. I've been getting it. No way. Oh my goodness, 9 points, and my leg was just a shaking on that clutch. I couldn't hold it. I was like, I hope I pass this. I'm like, oh no.
Well, and your leg gets tired,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're trying to ride that clutch to slow that truck down.
You're getting
and-
frustrated. You're
Yeah.
getting frustrated. You're like, oh shoot, oh, it's getting close.
Yeah.
You got to get in there.
Well, and you hear the tester blow his whistle,
yeah.
and you're like,
Oh,
and you
my
just
gosh.
know those points are adding
racking
up, and
Oh, yeah.
you can only get so many points, and then you're done.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one thing with this test where if you fail the maneuvers, you don't go onto the road.
Yeah.
Like you're just done right then and there, and you got to come back a week from now to retest. And so there's a lot of anxiety with that.
Yeah.
And it's one thing that the majority, like in high school, did you ever take one skills-based test in high school?
I can only say I had a CT construction class, and I guess that's probably the most.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the really wood chop too, I guess.
Wood
But,
shop,
yeah.
where you had to build something
Yeah.
or create
Yeah.
something to prove your proficiency
Yeah.
with that.
But
yeah.
none of the actual subjects.
No,
You know what I mean?
no.
Yeah.
Out of the hundreds and hundreds of tests
yeah.
that I've taken, right, very, very few,
Yep.
less than 1% have been skills based, where it's like you got to prove your proficiency
Yep.
with this, not just fill in the bubble.
know.
So
Yep,
it's a totally
exactly.
different kind of test that I think a lot of people don't understand because they've never taken one like it. And
Yeah.
the sleepless nights and
Oh, yeah.
not being able to eat, not wanting to eat, just things going through your mind. It's one thing that you're not alone. Everyone feels that's been in this position, to say the least. So kind of going back, what advice would you give to maybe other younger people out
Yeah.
there that are thinking about this, that haven't taken a leap, that just because they're nervous, they have the anxiety, maybe they don't want to take this risk. What advice would you give them based on your own experience?
I would say go and do it. A CDL, you can always use it. It's a great backup plan, even if you don't necessarily need it right away. It's for sure definitely an amazing thing to do. And advice coming into the class: as soon as they teach you how to do pre-trips, come and do them.
Yeah.
If you're in the area, come and do them every night. until you get that thing right on the nail on the head, and just keep doing it until you test day, and you'll be 100% set.
You know, and that's
100%.
and that's great advice, and that's what you did.
Yeah.
You know, and every single day throughout the course, and I know some young people struggle with this. I know there was a guy, not in your class, it was a class before. He was like mad at me because he's like, you know, I never had high school. I never had homework all throughout high school.
Yep.
And, you know, you're giving me homework every single night. I got to study this pre-trip and I
yeah.
got tests I got to take at home and I got CLP stuff. And I was like, well, like, this is more real life.
Yeah,
you
this
know?
is real life. This is your college. This
Yeah.
is your trade school. You know,
Exactly.
what you put into it is what you're going to get. That's exactly.
Absolutely. It's like you go to school for 8 hours a day and then you got homework at the end of it. I mean, it's intense.
It is.
You know, it really is.
But it feels great once you shake that guy's hand. Once you shake Josh's hand,
Yeah.
it feels great. It feels great to be done.
And that's official.
Yeah, it is.
Exactly. But it's that sweat equity that makes it worth it.
Yep,
right. I mean, because
sure.
it's an accomplishment. It's not easy. There's a lot of people that can't do it. Right. I mean, there's a reason why less than 3% of the population have CDLs. Yeah. Not because it's easy.
Yeah,
right.
for sure.
But because it's challenging. Well, what are your goals then? All right.
Yeah.
So what are your short-term goals with the CDL, long-term goals? What are your thoughts?
So when I go back, I'm going to be starting in a concrete truck, somebody doing
Awesome.
that, and dump trucks, hauling gravel, hauling concrete, doing all that. And maybe someday take over a business, run a business maybe.
Yeah.
Be the big boss. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
So-
Well, and I think this is a great stepping stone for life,
Yeah.
right? You know, you've proven to yourself that you can commit to something, you can be successful with it, you can know nothing about
Yeah.
this industry and go from, you know, zero to hero pretty
Yeah.
pretty quick,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And with the right commitment, right?
sure.
And that's a huge part of is having that commitment. You know, people like to ask, well, you know, how many people like flunk out of the course or don't make it? And you know, there's a handful, right? There's a handful throughout the course of the year. But I like to tell everyone too that if you're willing to put in the commitment like you did,
Exactly.
put in the time, put in the energy, and even what you said there with the pre-trip, like be willing to come in and do
exactly.
that
Yep.
pre-trip
All the time,
right?
do it.
And like people even in your class that didn't do that, they're going to struggle with that.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you got what 117 point inspection.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to learn that in a couple of days.
No way. No way. No way. It took me at least 2 weeks until I felt comfortable doing it.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Of studying it, you know, and you did it in class,
Yep.
but you also studied it at home
Yep.
as well. 2 weeks. And so I think that's good advice in itself that,
Yeah.
hey, 2 weeks of constant studying to be able to memorize it and embody it to be able
Yeah,
to regurgitate
for
it
sure. Yeah.
on your test, which is awesome. So any goals beyond driving, you know, maybe
Yeah.
owning your own company
Yeah.
someday, looking at some potentially some entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
you
That's
know?
the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something like
Well,
that.
and the UP is growing, right?
Yeah, it
the
is,
UP is
for
growing. I mean, we've seen a ton of some population increases,
Yep.
right? You see building going on all over the place. So who knows kind of where you're going to end up.
You never know.
And that's
If you put the time in, you're going to get where you got to go.
yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
And that kind of hard work and
Yep.
be willing to have that hard work.
You got to. Have to.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's something with you that I noticed right from the beginning. It was like, wow, this is a young guy, but extremely motivated.
Yeah.
You know, what people in your life kind of help with that kind of motivation
Yeah.
and instill that work ethic in you.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to name off my mom right away. She's been working hard her whole life. She taught me most of it, almost all of it. You know, she's been awesome. Taught me you got to work for what you want to get in life. You know what I mean? And also, I grew up across the street from a fire department. So actually, I just passed fire school too. So
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
So, yeah, fire now. Yeah. So them guys over there taught
That's
me
a
lot
tough
of it.
exam too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 200 questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know people have studied a long time to pass that.
Yeah, for
And now,
sure.
is that a volunteer fire
Yeah,
department?
yep.
So are you going to be on that department as
Yep.
well?
I'm on right now. So
You are?
As soon as I
Yeah.
turned 18, got on. So
Wow, that's amazing.
Yep.
That's amazing. You know, so I'm curious about that because that's another thing that a lot of young people that I talk to, and I'm involved. I'm not a volunteer firefighter, but I'm involved in a lot of different nonprofits
Yeah, for
and volunteer through different organizations. Why is that important to you?
it's very important. You got to help out the community. You have to keep everything running good, and you got to help out everybody. Everyone needs help someday. You know,
Absolutely.
everybody needs help. So
Yeah. Who instilled that in you?
I'd say my mom.
Your mom?
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic because it's something that even in the people that I know, right? Volunteering is kind of it's a dying thing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And a lot of the organizations that I'm a part of, there's just not a lot of young people. And so it takes people like yourself, people like myself, young people to step up and put themselves in those roles. And that way, things like volunteer fire departments and other great organizations that help out the community, they're not going to be around if young people don't step up.
Scary thought, but
no, it is.
Yeah.
It is. But you unfortunately see it a lot. These clubs and organizations, they just kind of age out.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? If you don't have the young people to step up and be a part of it, it's you need that next generation.
Yeah, you do.
Right?
Absolutely.
So that's important. Well, any other advice that you would give? I think I love the volunteering aspect of things, the motivation, the work ethic. You said something about work ethic that's kind of intriguing, but it's like, you're not gonna get anywhere without a work
you need
ethic.
it. You have to have it. Even if you're doing college, you got to have it to move on.
You're not gonna make it through college without work ethic. Like
absolutely not.
If there's an underlying theme for success, it's you got to be able to work hard.
Got to put the work into it.
You got to put the work into it.
For sure.
Success isn't just going to fall on your lap.
No.
Right?
No.
If it does, good for you, but not in my experience.
Nope.
Right?
Money don't grow on trees, so
It doesn't, and it requires work, plain and simple. But the opportunity is there, right? You know what I mean? It's not like there's no opportunity. It's like I've never met anyone that says I got a ton of work ethic, but there's just no opportunity. It's like, well, no, the opportunity is there.
Right.
You just got to be willing to put in the work and have that ambition,
Yep.
right? And I think that's important for young people. And you learn that at a really young age. And more people need to learn that at a young age, and then also giving back with the community, because in my experience, those connections, whatever volunteering you do, right, those connections will build to other connections, which will build to maybe entrepreneurial ideas that you're interested in, or other job opportunities. You never know, those connections are huge. And and everyone loves somebody that gives back to their community, even if they don't do it, right? Say I didn't volunteer at all, I would really like someone that volunteers, because they're doing something that's benefiting the community as a whole in its entirety. So, well, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing. I came into this not knowing anybody. I'm 3 hours away. I was like, oh man, this is going to be rough the first couple of days, but I made friends. There's a lot of good people in this class. Everyone's nice. Teachers, instructors are all amazing. It's 100% something you should definitely do. Definitely made, like I said, good friends, and just keep in contact with them. And it's been a great experience.
I love to hear that.
Yeah.
The friends I made when I came through this program, 15 years ago, I'm still friends with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of those things. You spend that much time with people, you get to know them. And I like to think you got a friend in me as well.
Yeah,
so
thank you, John.
So
appreciate you.
Thanks again, Blake.
Yep.
Great having you.